Ugh. We'll start off with this one. Thanks for the game name. It's art. Equinox. Oh boy. Aren't we glad that this map is actually going? All right.
Iron Banner.
Okay, Iron Banner Equinox. So let's like screen. Okay, here we go. So if you could, let's talk about Equinox from the get-go. It's a pretty average map, hence the reason why it's going to be removed and redone, because a lot of it needs working. But the basic layout of Equinox is essentially like a banana with a small room in the center area that leads off into these two areas. Look at that. Pro drawing skills. Alright. So essentially, and then you've got your B point out here. You've got like your canopies out here and you've got a walkway here. There's two further areas back on this side. You got B point here, you got C, and you got A. So essentially, when you want to play Equinox, you've got two options. And each one you can't really mix and match. You kind of just got to funnel into whichever one you want to do. If you choose to play the outside lane and try like honker B down all the time, you've got like your boxes here and whatever. You kind of need to be playing, say, your long game. So this is where you want to be using your pulse rifle, sniper rifle. A fast firing scout also works pretty well, so long as you've got something like exploding rounds. And yeah, Equinox is the sniper max, the big one outside. And if you want to play inside, you want to be using like a hand cannon, recluse, shotgun. That's all it is. And you're kind of trying to pick whichever side that you want to play on. You want to really focus down on it. And then you want to keep, you can't, because of the nature of the map, it's actually quite difficult to spawn trap people on this. Just because, for some reason, the game really wants to flip spawns, which is quite unusual because usually the game really doesn't want to flip spawns. But you flip spawns quite often on Equinox, so you want to just keep them moving between one and the other. So you can't really start hunkering down, because as soon as you hunker down, you start getting shot from the back. So yeah, let's get started.
Iron Banner. Use everything in your power. Fight and prevail.
Alright, so you've got an off stringer and a sniper rifle, hammer, a titan, and you're using melting point. Which is what I like.
Opponent claims Zone A. Zone C captured.
So off the get-go here, you're doing well. Your teammates have captured the point, that's fine, and you want to try and gain control of the B area. Hugging this wall is a really good idea because it gives you information on your radar on the left-hand side about if people are going to be going inside. And if people are going inside, that dictates whether you can sit on this corner here and try aim down those sight lines toward where the staircase is and on top of the boxes, or whether you can't. Because if you stand here and there's people on inside, they're going to be able to run around the doorway that's just to the left of you and run around and try to get the shotgun kill on you. So if there are people on your radar towards the left, you can't really go into this area and you want to dig down to the right and try to take control of this block here. Maybe put a shield up here so you can start range capping B, but you certainly don't want to push too far out. So depending on if you get radar pings here, dictates whether you want to cut back in and try to get some cheeky shots on people who are trying to go on the flank towards B, or whether you just go straight towards B without just thinking about it. So if we come in, that's a great shot. Alright, so immediately, if we go back to, if we think about before when we were reviewing, there was a video that I did a couple of weeks ago that was on a sniping map. It was on Radiant Cliffs. And the person in question was doing a lot of flick sniping, and you're the direct opposite too. When the two general forms of sniping are flick sniping and strafe sniping. So flick sniping revolves a bunch of quick movements with your mouse, and you're kind of using your mouse to, when you scope in, you find the head and then you just flick towards it. It's really instinctual. Whereas the strafe sniping, when you scope in, you try to get your reticle roughly head level already, and then you just strafe left or right towards where the opponent is. So if you scope in here and your guy is over towards the left, you're just going to naturally strafe to the right to get the shot rather than flicking your mouse, which is really good. So long as you're conscious that you're doing that, it's great and you can work on it, because if you have a too high sensitivity, that means strafe sniping becomes a lot better, and low to mid sensitivity favors a lot more flicking, because you don't have to move that much to get really good rebounds off of it. So good snipes and good control immediately towards B, because that's the zone that you want to hold. So really good sightlines towards that you're going towards the A point. But just keep in mind that when you're coming around this corner, if I'm just going to skip back a bit, you want to be focusing more to this side of this wall here than kind of anything over here, because all this place is dead and the only thing on your radar is a guy towards the left. So the only place he can be is on top of this thing here or just around the corner. So those are the only two places that this guy on the radar can possibly be. This place is all dead. No one's going to be up here, otherwise you get a ping in your radar towards the end here. So focusing your reticle along this wall and then keeping an eye out that someone might be coming from on top of you is the right idea. So looking out towards your right, there's really no reason to do that because no one's there. So you should be following this edge right here,
The lead is yours.
which gets you ready for the guy who comes in.
Zone B captured. So
Really good choice straight away that when you go around the corner and you see one person here and you see another person up on the ledge, that you start backing out straight away. That's a 2v1 situation. You don't want to be into that. So getting the shot in, but starting to strafe back towards cover and using this wall here as cover is a great idea, because you're minimizing yourself and you're trying to force a 1v1. Good nade placement. If that guy wants to charge you, he has to go through the nade. And good kills. Keep heads up that you don't want to go out of cover when you're ending a reload, because you can get picked off while you're kind of just milling around and stuck in an animation. Good push up. This is a really good idea to do. If you want to, that's a really good option to move to the right, because then when you're doing all the right decisions, because moving down this right area means that you've got this entire wall to the left of you that is blocking sightlines, and if people want to come in towards here, you have the advantage because they're coming towards you rather than you coming towards them. They're using this wall as a blocker, and you can even use this the ball and this pillar here to zone off this entrance here. So the only people that can really engage you are people coming around this corner, and if they duck down towards here, you can just kind of go backwards towards the entrance and just sit there and wait for them to poke out, and you don't really have to push in. If we go back to the beginning where I was talking about flipping spawns, if you go further than this staircase here, you will automatically flip spawns. That's just the way it is. No matter what, you will automatically flip You will automatically flip spawns unless you have teammates that are really stacked in the C capture zone. That's the only time it won't flip. So this staircase here is kind of the marker. You go further than that, you're automatically flipping the spawn. This is how crazy it is. Fun fact, if you wanted to clip people, standing here and looking that way forces people to spawn down there. Retarded, but it works. So you'll notice here, you've come too far. You might get killed for this, but it's unlikely. And your team, you're automatically flipping spawn. So you have to be looking towards C, because that's where everyone's going to be spawning now. And if you wanted to play a rushy style of Iron Banner, so if you have a lot of shotgun rushes, you really want to be pushing and flipping spawns all the time, so they're always on the back foot. And then on top of that, if you wanted to take it a step further and try to get super technical, you split the team so they're always half and half spawning. So half the team is spawning while the other team is getting flipped. So you're only, sorry. So you're only really versing like a maximum of 3 people at one time. Going for the jump snipe, but right idea to block B. Alright. You're coming up to a fight, unless your objective is to do your shoulder charge someone, get out a sprint, because otherwise you're just going to get caught in the open. I think you're just trying to rush someone down. You're really lucky not to get picked for someone here. This aping. Alright, let's wind back the clock and talk about this, because this is... Alright, so you're obviously looking to grab someone with the shoulder charge, but you gotta be mindful. I'm just gonna highlight this. You're obviously trying to grab someone with the shoulder charge, and you've got one person here, potentially 2, but because you only heard the jump and this guy is jumping here, you can see by the shadow, you can really kind of just tell that there possibly is one person. It's unlikely that there's 2. And because you've just recently captured A and you've cleared that spawn out, you can expect everyone to be arriving on the C flag staircase and getting up onto this tabletop here, or the entrance to the alleyway that is in that corner over there. So if you wanted to shoulder charge someone, this guy would be it. But then as soon as this guy dies, that's it. Your options of shoulder charging are limited, because the only people you're expecting to appear are all arriving on this ledge here. So you're expecting to find 2 or 3 people. So anything more than that, you're risking the chance that you're going to just get rushed down by a double team, which is what happens. So grabbing this guy would be your only choice, because everyone else is kind of just arriving on the platform. And if you try shoulder charge them, no matter how good your teammates are, you will just be rushed down.
Zone B captured. Zone advantage is yours.
Now we're going in without rifle shots. You're playing the outside game, which is good. Controlling B. Because your teammates picked heavy, you want to start flipping the spawn again, so you want to hard push. You're jumping a lot when you're coming out of cover, and try to minimize that a lot, because your accuracy isn't great while you're in the air, particularly when you're sniping. Your reticle placement is also really good. It's almost always at head height, which is great. You can want to stop. This is a big thing for people who use controllers. They will naturally look down because of the way the FOV is set up on a controller. They will naturally start looking downwards when they sprint to get a better view of what's happening on the map. And you have to stop that, because if you have to stop sprinting, then look up and then try and engage someone, you've just lost time. Usually that means you've lost a shot in the shot string, which at the high levels means you're dead. Really good hand cannon shots. Watch out to the guy on your left. I think that's a smoke grenade though.
Zone A lost.
Oh no, it's a guy who's crouching. Yeah, always. As soon as someone's died on the screen and there's no one in front of you, glance up at the radar, because they'll tell you where the next person is.
You captured Zone C. You have the advantage. Press on.
But it's really good to see that you have an idea of where you should be going at all times. Good shots. Pick up some more. Expect this guy to be, yep, up there. Oh, unfortunately. That was so perfect, but you shot the corner. Unfortunate. And that's one of the letdowns of strafe sniping, is that you sometimes will clip the side of boxes. It happens to me all the time, because I'm more of a strafe sniper than a flick sniper. But that was going to be perfect. You would have absolutely nailed that guy. You're coming in for the shoulder charge. Oof. Good hand cannon shots. Now, because the guy's backing down, you're not expecting him to come from here. What naturally people will do is start coming from underwards here, so start looking that way. What do you know? He came out that way. Alright, going for the hammers. Going for the ape. That was a really good, if you were gonna super, that's a really good time to super. Right about here. You got 2 people in front of you and you're pinging on a radars for a 3rd. There's another guy here for a 4th. That's a clip. So, super there. And you've got hammers, so you're basically invincible. Go for the trade. Quick thing to go, if you see more than like, if you see 3 people and have a good suspicion that there's more, always super. I mean, why not?
Captured. Everything is yours. Relish this time.
Doesn't matter, always super. Doesn't matter if you saw heavy, always super, even if you waste it. You always tell them to get the heck out of there because you're flipping. Alright, Thigh is blocking spawns and so is your teammate. So it's kind of up in the air that who's going to spawn. My guess is they're going to spawn here because that's their natural spawn coming into the game. The game will always want to spawn you where you started. So the enemy will always want to spawn A because you spawned B side. So if there's a 50-50 chance, odds are they're going to be spawning here. It gets a little bit more technical with player placement if you want to go like super into it. But yeah.
Captured zone A. Opponent claims zone C.
Going over. Oh, come on. Yes. All right. Stop holding onto your super for so long. You just stop that.
I'm calling it.
And the mercy comes in. All right.
Zone B captured. 2 zones are yours. You are victorious.
Go for the body shot. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I want you. Let's have a look. So coming into the end of this game, where's a good? We'll use this screen. Yeah, we'll use this screen for it. So coming in, looking at it, you're holding super for way too long. You don't need to hold it for that long. And on the flip side, if you think about it, the quicker you use your super is, the quicker you can get to another one. In a tight game, depending on what super you have, depends on if you want to hold it or not. That's if you want to do 1v, like if you want to use your super to shut down other supers. But you're using hammers, which is a very aggressive super. So I would use it to push the advantage. So as soon as you see like two or more people, just super, just like go for it straight away. Who cares? Your reticle placement is great. It's always at head height or very close to. That's really good. If we want to work on a couple of things just coming out of this video, the first one would be pre-aiming. So, oh, that's ugly. I might switch the color. Here, pre-aiming. So, you're pre-aiming. So that's when you're walking around the area and you see like a doorway, or in this case before, pre-aiming is where you're expecting them to come out from and looking there. So if we go back to the instance where you were looking at the staircase up to the platform and then you had the box to your left, your radar indicated there was no one on the right hand side, so the staircase and the tabletop were fine. The only place that could possibly have enemies is towards the left. So all this area to the right is dead space to you, so you don't have to worry about anything coming from there. So the place where you should be aiming is hugging that wall here, because that's where they're going to be coming from, because there's no other reason that they shouldn't be coming from. So it's more about that, and that will help you get the first shot off. And once you get the first shot off, you usually get the second and the third and the fourth, just because the confidence boost comes in. It's like tennis, always getting the first shot always seems to make you feel so much better about the rest of them. If you miss the first shot, it always seems like you're floundering to get the rest of them. That's just like a rule of thumb towards everyone. Your game sense is pretty good. Knowing where you need to be on the map is really good. You're always having a sense that you know where the action is and kind of heading towards that. That's great. You're not really wandering around. So that's really good. I'm going to call this aping. But it's tunnel. The correct term, actually, I'm going to cross this out. Because what it actually is tunnel vision. You're tunnel visioning on when you're looking for a shoulder charge, you kind of just ignore everything else and feel like you have to go for the shoulder charge. And that more often than not, while it is good to get a shoulder charge off, and there is a lot of opportunities to get the shoulder charge off, once that opportunity is lost, you have to abort it, because otherwise you're hunting for something that isn't there, and more often than not, you will just get punished for it because you're not ready. And the time it takes for you to get out of the animation from sprinting is more than enough to get destroyed if two people are aiming it. You won't even be able to get a shot off. So yes, it's great looking for shoulder charging, but once the opportunity is gone, just abort it and go back to something. Other than that, that game was pretty dang good. I mean, your shots were decent. Obviously, I don't know how confident you are on your sensitivity or if you're still searching, but the shots were good. The snipes were on point. You have an idea as well. This was really good that I saw. Whether or not you're actually conscious of doing this, but with your sniping, understanding what you need to do in terms of, do I need to go for the head or do I need to go for the body, is really good. Generally, if the enemy's taken damage, go for the body. Why not? It's easiest and more often than not secure to kill because you don't have to go for the head. And if they have full HP, then go for the headshot. But knowing when you have to go for like the difficulty of the shot is great. Even though a lot of people be like, oh, you just go for the body shots. And it's like, well, it's either going to be risk a headshot to miss you or one hit you anyway to the body. You're dead either way. Who cares? Both of them cost one bullet. So just use that. So that was really good. So just pre-aiming and then tunnel visioning are the two biggest things that you can come away from this game. You can fix those up. You can be a lot more confident in the way that you play. Other than that, the gameplay was pretty dang good. Keep in mind that sensitivity doesn't mean a whole lot unless you put your DPI in. So you can tell me that you have a 7 sensitivity, but unless I know what your DPI is, it doesn't mean anything. All right. 800 DPI, so you're roughly about the same. Okay, the quick rule of thumb, if anyone's wondering, for DPI or equivalent DPI in Destiny is it's very, very loose, but your in-game sensitivity is a multiplier of your DPI. So for example, I run 3 DPI with 1,800. I run 3 sensitivity with 1,800 DPI. So my eDPI, quote unquote, is about it's about 5,200, I think it is, off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. So yours is 5,600 eDPI, quote unquote. So that's roughly the same as mine, and I like it. So sensitivity is a soft topic. If it works for you, then I don't see any reason for you to change it. It's only when you feel like you're consistently over aiming or under aiming is when you should change it, and that's when you like naturally snap to something. You always feel like you have to correct yourself on the way through, rather than naturally just looking where you want to look. Yeah, other than that, the game was great. So let's load up the second one and let's see how this goes.